good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from or if you are catching us on replay. This is The Awesome Journey, and I am your host, Kelle 𝒚𝒏𝒆𝒚, along with my co-host and care, Christy Howard. And we're just two girls that connected on LinkedIn 15 years ago, live on opposite sides of the country, have giving hearts, a passion for paying it forward, and I may have prayed to be living louder in my purpose. And now here we sit in front of microphones bringing you The Awesome Journey. And as many of you know, and for those of you that are new, one of our main goals is to highlight incredible individuals to share their unique stories and challenges because, hey, we all need to be reminded that we are united in our personal journeys. And you may be sitting here and going, your guest looks familiar today. That looks like Graham 𝒐𝒎𝒆𝒚. And it is. Graham is our first twofer. Congratulations. Graham was here a couple of weeks ago talking about his journey through depression, suicidal ideation. I highly recommend for anyone to go back and listen to that. We'll include the link in these comments, and it is on our previous posts promoting this episode as well. But today we have him back because one of the other things that Christy and I wanted to do when we were putting this together, besides helping everyone, was definitely to talk about the challenging job market, the amount of layoffs. And we've been speaking to a lot of recruiters, job seekers, and as you know, we've highlighted job seekers in the past. And Graham is known as the empathetic recruiter, which we absolutely love. So we were going to be getting advice from him today from a recruiter perspective. If you have any questions, we encourage you to put them in the chat. You can also message all of us independently if you don't want to put anything here up front. But please do. We're here to connect, go to our profiles, ring our bells so you can be notified of our awesome content. That all being said, let's get right over to Graham. But before we do, I will turn it over to my co-host and care, Christy Howard. You're on mute, sister.
I have to unmute. There's noise in my back.
I was like, I can't read lips very well.
Sorry.
No worries.
I forgot I muted myself. Anyway, I love having recruiters because I work with job seekers every day globally. And it's, you got the good recruiters. Here we have Graham, our empathetic recruiter. And then we've got those bad recruiters. And so we're going to dig into it with Graham. I'm going to, everybody knows me. I throw out those hard balls and don't hold back because sometimes I just wonder, there's a lot of recruiters out there looking for jobs, yet there are some bad recruiters that actually have jobs that don't really do anything, don't really do anything. So anyway, we'll get into that. Graham, it's all yours. We want you to share the industry, because there are people have to, I believe, understand that certain recruiters only look under certain industries and how you got into that industry. And give us, the good old ATS, the resume, how many pages, just the whole thing. And I know that it's different with different jobs. Some recruiters only like certain pages in certain ways. So it's not completely consistent across the board. It's just understanding. Yeah. So it's all yours, Graham.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I mean, I'm an agency recruiter. I kind of fell into recruiting. That's what a lot of recruiters would say. They didn't seek out to be a recruiter. It just kind of happened to them. So I got into recruiting right out of college. My sister-in-law worked at a place called Aerotech, and she told me it would be a good spot to kind of start out and learn. And that's what I did. So I worked there for a couple of years, primarily in engineering and manufacturing, and then transitioned more into the IT space. So I am doing a good bit of engineering still, but it's more like software engineering, database engineering, telecom. So pretty technical IT stuff. But there are recruiters that I work with on the team that I'm a part of. We have pretty much we hire for pretty much everything. we've got some pretty big clients who need like HR, sales, even customer service. So it's predominantly IT, and that's what I work on. But there are people that I work with who have other jobs as well. So
excellent. So,
yeah.
Christy, I know I've seen some comments coming here fast and furious. Is there anything that we need to address?
Yeah, let's start off, because I have to at least answer a few of them because I agree with them. So we have Rob. He is a coach here in Florida. Ashief saying hello, great section. Keep on making the difference, which we are. Christopher is a job seeker. He's been out. And here's our bad recruiters. And Salim, who will be coming in as a guest soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I mentioned that, my response to Salim was, unfortunately, the bad recruiters are overshining the good recruiters by their comments, their suggestions, pulling in as many connections they have. And because of this, job seekers are in a mental space. They don't know who they should be listening to. I, for one, always say, go look at their profile, go look at their content. Graham's one, Daryl Clack's one, Joe. There's a lot of people that put out really good, authentic, empathetic content for job seekers. Those that don't, about the ATS or bots, you can only have one page for a resume. Seriously, I don't think your college could even do a one-pager. So just understand that there are actually good recruiters out there that really want to help you get a job. It's just building those connections. I'm big on what I do is, if I see somebody post and they say this is what they're looking for, I'll say, I have somebody. And then I do an introduction to the two of them. And then now that's on the job seeker and the recruiter. If the recruiter doesn't follow up and ghost, it is what it is. And I understand that recruiters are really busy. However, with you, Graham, and again, as you said, you have different jobs and different companies, and each company is, obviously does something different. How do you take that job description and get ready to find that person you're going to interview? Because obviously you want to put them through, because one, that's your pay, two, makes the customer happy, and three, you make the job seeker happy. But how do you prepare yourself over just what the job description says? Because, oh my gosh, I even know that I've had jobs where I look at the job description a year later going, this isn't even anything close to what I do. So how do you go about preparing yourself? Because job seekers now are asking a lot more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I do when I get a job description is just kind of, like you said, a lot of the ones I get from my client or a hire manager, it's going to be very, very long. Sometimes, so you kind of weed it down. There are other times where the client doesn't really know necessarily, like they can tell us what they're looking for, but they don't know how to make the job description. So we make the job description for them. But yeah, I mean, the first thing I do is either weed it down or build it up into the things that are kind of the must-haves. And then, you just add in like the soft skills or the personality traits that they'd be looking for as well. And first thing I do is post, and then once it's posted, to our website and job boards, then I immediately start sourcing, sending out messages on LinkedIn, and sending out messages on Indeed and wherever else.
Nice. I think one of the topics, and you mentioned this, Christy, because I think it always comes back up as a topic, is ATS. Like, it just seems to be that nonstop thing that everybody's like, oh my gosh, this ATS thing is so terrible. And it's like, it's an application tracking system. And I don't know if I'm saying that accurately of what it stands for, but people are thinking like, I get knocked out right away because it's looking for things that are missing. And it's like, isn't that used for recruiters or the organization who is using it for them to search specifically for certain things? It's not a way to weed people out. Like, I think there's such a negative connotation about it because there's been such too much information that is not accurate out there. And I do want to give additional shout outs to Mark Toscano and Ed Hahn as being two other awesome recruiters. But what are your thoughts on ATS and to help people? Because I still think that that's one of those items that people are freaked out over and thinking that's why I'm not getting any response from when I apply.
Yeah. I don't know if I have necessarily any thoughts on the ATS. I can tell you that it is what it is. It's an applicant tracking system. It is not a robot. I have yet to see anything that has, automatically rejected candidates. I still get I can't share it because I don't think I would be allowed to, but I get errors. Like, people can apply to jobs and not even submit a resume. Like, I get their first name and their last name and their number, but it says, oops, looks like this candidate didn't upload a resume.
Well, that's software. You're going to always have those oops in software.
Right. But so I can, your resume will get through the ATS. No matter how short it is or how long it is, no matter, the format, no matter how many keywords you put in there or you think you needed to put in there, it will get in regardless. Yeah. There's really, I think it's unfortunate that, it's just one of those things that you can create fear out of. You can spread these myths and then build a business out of ATS friendly resumes or beat the ATS when there's nothing to beat. It's just, really the ATS, I saw a meme recently. The ATS is the recruiter. The recruiter is the one who is rejecting your resume, or it's not a robot.
Right.
Well, and that's the whole thing. It's a database. It's where all the applications go on, and then you search for the words of that job description. So two things. What job? So we're all on LinkedIn, but what other job boards would you lean to that you say, hey, these are great job boards to go to? Because I think there's a lot of people who have not had to interview for years, and so they're on LinkedIn. And they're just trying to figure out how to utilize LinkedIn.
Right.
So with LinkedIn, you've got the easy apply. Then at the very top, and we've gone over this before, but this is for people that have not seen the videos before. They'll see how many applicants, which we've been told that it's just how many people have touched the page. It's not how many applicants.
That's right.
But what other job boards do you feel, as you mentioned, Indeed, but ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor. I don't know all these other job boards, but there's got to be a lot of them. So what other job boards could people really dig into, overseeing the same things over and over? And unfortunately, a lot of jobs, which I've even found out personally, are scams. People hack people's accounts and they end up being scams out there.
Yeah.
So if you could give the job seekers some advice, that would be great.
Yeah. I don't think you can beat LinkedIn or Indeed. I know there are plenty of other job boards. Luckily, for what I'm doing for we only pay. My company only pays for LinkedIn and Indeed, so I can't use really anything else as a sourcing tool for me. As a job seeker in the past, I pretty much only stuck to LinkedIn and Indeed, but there are several. To be honest, if I was a job seeker, yes, I would be focused on job boards, but I also would be focused more on just creating target companies, and then just going to those companies and seeing what they're hiring for. Because a lot of companies and even just searching like LinkedIn posts versus the LinkedIn job itself, because there's a lot of people who don't maybe don't want to pay what the money it costs
Right.
to post jobs, and would rather just have it on their website and are kind of hoping that people stumble across it.
So how do you suggest they filter jobs that are on a post? Would it be a hashtag job seeker, a job, or I mean, how would so you would go and you'd filter a hashtag?
Well, no. So you can, like, if as a recruiter, I would search LinkedIn most of the time using a Boolean string. So it would be, if I was looking for a software engineer, Java, I would, I'd search Java and remote and bachelor's or something. So, I mean, I guess if I was a job seeker, I would reverse that and just say, okay, this is what I am. Like, these are the roles I'm targeting for. So in the LinkedIn search, not like the jobs page, just the LinkedIn search, just Boolean, in quotes.
Because a lot of people don't know what Boolean is.
Yeah. So it would be, software engineer, and I'm looking for a remote job. So then, and remote, and like hiring. And then you should be able to find posts that are hiring those, like, for those people, from the hiring managers or recruiters.
Okay, I'm gonna pull in and again, you know me, I interrupt. I'm gonna pull in a comment that Christopher pulls in. It's really long, so I'm just let you know who it is, and then I'm gonna hide it, and then I'm gonna read it. He said the experience that he has had that he would like to address is this. When speaking with a recruiter, oftentimes they don't know the details of the job description. Often they will tell me that they don't know what this particular person does in the position that is trying to be filled. And then the next thing when a recruiter contacts him, he has to wonder if they have even read his experience on LinkedIn. Case in point, he's continually contacted for roles that requires a certain experience, and his profile doesn't even show that experience. And this probably has to do with the ATS. So I don't know if that's the ATS, but that goes back to, you have a recruiter who doesn't know even what this job's about. So why are you wasting a job seeker's time when you want to know their information, yet you can't even give them information? So how can I apply for this job or be interested when you don't have a freaking clue what it is even about? And so it's all about wasting people's time.
Right.
Yeah. 100.
I mean, I think,
and then the other thing, Patricia, and the other one, so this is a whole bundle for you. Patricia wants to know, can you explain the automatic rejections? So if ATS is not booting people out, but a resume sent and then minutes later, sorry, but the email's been received and you've been rejected. I believe it's like, let's say I applied for a job and it says required bachelor's degree. My resume, I don't have a bachelor's degree. So the recruiter, and obviously tell me I'm wrong because I'm not a recruiter, says they have to have a bachelor's degree. So when that resume comes through, you're going to get that email going, thanks, but no thanks, because, but they don't explain it's because you don't have a bachelor's degree.
Right. And I think to even add on to that before you answer that, Graham, is I think the other part is there's a lot of organizations that are required to do so many job postings, but they have they're not going to fill it. So it is, as soon as you submit, you're getting a rejection, and it's not because you're rejected. They're really not filling that position. So I think there's a few things of why you would get that automated response. So I just wanted to add that additional point in there.
Yeah. I mean, I I think unfortunately the piece of recruiters not knowing necessarily what the person is doing in the job or what the hiring, the details of the job or even in the job description, like all they have is this piece of paper, but they can't really talk about it because they don't know what it means. To be honest, like it is a really tricky thing as a recruiter. It depends. Like I'm an agency recruiter, so that means I've got multiple clients and that I can recruit for a variety of skill sets. Now with that, I try and become like an expert in certain things, so I can talk about it. I do know what I'm looking for, but I do think, unfortunately, a lot of the times the people who are recruiting are like straight out of school, have a business degree, and are just playing like word match. And yeah, I mean, even if Cisco wasn't on his profile, maybe they're hoping that he has experience in it and it's just not in his profile,
Exactly.
And one of the other points I wanted to be sure to bring up during this conversation is because this is definitely something that I don't want to say struggled with, but it's definitely been a roadblock, if you will. And I have had an experience with a local employer that I was going for a position lower than my most recent experience. And there was definitely conversation about it. So I did get my foot in the door. And in this particular instance, it was unfortunate because they wanted to bring someone in that had enough experience to replace their existing VP of marketing. But then they were like, but we can't have you in because she'll see your profile and know that something's up. And I was sort of like, yeah, but all we have to do is say, I don't want the responsibility anymore. And yada, yada, long and the short, it didn't work out. But I feel like that's still an issue because there are positions, just because I'm not applying for a CMO, because I'm applying for a director or a VP, I don't understand. I feel like sometimes it's just removed because it's like, oh, why do they want to be here? Because that's lower than what they have. They're going to wait for their dream job. And it's like, first of all, my dream job comes along regardless of what position I'm at. I'm going to take it. But even just to get the conversation about, hey, this is where I want to be. And I think so many people now are applying to lower positions simply for the fact of they're like, I need a freaking job. Yeah. And not being able to get into the door because of that. And so I guess my question with all of that word salad that I just threw out there is, what advice do you have for people who are looking to apply at lower level positions, and how should they approach that differently, or should they?
I mean, I think for the, I think that's really hard. Yeah. I know that that's a fact. I've gotten some pushback before where they think, oh, the hiring manager says that the person's going to be bored in the job. They
yes.
don't want the job.
And my answer to that is I will not be bored with a paycheck. I promise you.
Right.
Well, plus you don't know if I'm going to be bored. I looked at what you're saying. Believe me, I can create this job and have a great time with it.
Yeah. I think trying to address the red flag. Well, it's messed up to even say it's a red flag, but you have like putting yourself in the hiring manager's shoes. So this is what they think. So you have to address what they think.
And I said that before as the hiring manager, but the market, even pre-2020, was obviously very different. But I would talk to people if they were overqualified to see like what was the reasoning behind why they wanted to be here. And when you do, meet with a mom who she's like, my kids are now in school and I don't want to have to work this many hours, there's no conversation being had. So I understand it, but it's also, I think, just one of those things that's so freaking aggravating because, you can't then turn around and, because I've heard some people say, well, make a different resume and submit it that way. And it's like, but they're going to find out. So now you're just a liar. And that's going to create a whole different series of problems. But I think the market is so different now where from a hiring manager, me being someone that's interviewed hundreds of people over my career, I would love to be able to sit down with someone or have a, one-on-one Zoom, however you want to have the call, and be able to say like, oh my gosh, I've got someone that's got CMO experience that's going to work as a VP under my CMO and wants to partner with them. How awesome that they would not only be able to mentor, but what a rockin' team I'm going to have. Like that's the part that's difficult, because the world's just not the same, because people are out of work for so much longer now that they are like, what can I do just to get a job? And yes, maybe I want to move up eventually, but that should never be a threat anyways. But I know for some people that are in the positions that they're hiring for, they can feel threatened knowing like, this person has more experience than me. I don't want to be exposed for not being so great at my job. So it's kind of this, ugly catch-22, double-edged sword, however you want to say it, situation. But it's like, man, how do you bypass that? And I'm not asking you to answer that. I just know it's a struggle for so many, because I've definitely heard a lot of people talking about that. And I for one, have had the issue as well.
Well, we definitely have
hard.
some comments over here, because obviously this is a very passionate conversation, and a lot of people are there. Let me go back. It's easier for me to read up here. Sorry. Let's see. And people go back to the comments. I'm not reading them all. I'm just reading things that I've heard through my job seekers. And okay, so Paul, who was like Brendan, that we had on, he's deaf. So he says that he has had some recruiters reach out to him, finding that I had what they were looking for, and then flake and ghost on me. There's another conversation, ghosting, when they wanted to call me as soon as possible. And I'm like, please email me instead of video, because I'm deaf. Ghost time, obviously it's not cool. So let me finish that thought of ghosting. And saying, talk to me as soon as possible. You get a message from a recruiter, or they call you, you're busy, you don't answer the phone, you don't jump, you get back to them, let's say maybe an hour later, they're gone. They've already gone to the next person. They're going. And that's where it's sort of like where people are attached to their computer, attached to their phone, just waiting for that phone call, that connection, even if it's nothing. And that's where the mental health is really deteriorating. And then Stephen mentions that, he's been rejected being too qualified twice this week.
Oh my God.
So his question is not sure how we can change the hiring manager's response to somebody wanting to lower level. Again, it's a conversation.
Right.
You all want to have, and I'm not putting my empathetic recruiter in, but you all as recruiters, you want to have a conversation with us. You want to know what we have. We've given all our information out there. You have it on LinkedIn. However, when you sit there and say, well, they're too overqualified, or better yet, they have a conversation with you and say, everything that they need. They have your interview, they have your resume, they call you for the interview, and then they just say, oh, well, you don't have any of the qualifications. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but why the hell did we set up this interview then?
Right.
Is it because you're getting paid by each, conversation? So, and I know that other agencies and independent, they're all different, but we're at this place where everybody's so frustrated. And, Kelle and I are huge, as well as you, about the mental health and being empathetic, of understanding. And understanding that there's a lot are looking for jobs. And I'm hoping that when they get a job, they're going to change how they were that way.
Yeah.
I know there was
like
no
get a taste of your own
Graham, sorry. I got on my soapbox,
Yeah. But it is that whole thing. And I think that's so right. And the ghosting thing, that's probably one of my most, it's the I shouldn't say the most annoying, but it is one of the most annoying things that happens. And I won't call out the organization, but it's a very large organization here that reached out to me and said, hey, we've got an opening for this position. gave me the description, and it came from the organization. And I replied within the same day saying, hey, I would love to, and they asked, can we set up to do a Zoom call? Would love to have a conversation. I would love to, send me your link and we'll set up a time or whatever it was. Nothing. And I waited a day or 2 days, and then I followed up again. Hey, just following up on your original message. But again, you reached out to me. And the fact that and I know exactly what you're saying, Christy, they went on to someone else and probably got someone else quicker and started moving down the path. But it is that human nature thing. And in this particular example that I'm using, this is one organization. You had the one person. You only reached out to so many people. You owed me a reply, at least to say, hey, this job has been closed, whatever. But it is annoying as a job seeker. And I think in this current environment, the ghosting is impacting people different than it did 5 years ago, because it didn't happen as often and people haven't been out as work as often. And it is, and we all three know people who do this. They submit resumes all day and are looking at their computer all day long. And when they don't get it, it does plague on their mental health because they continue to feel rejected. And again, I know that's not a question for you, Graham, but I just know that.
I have a question though, because that's why we got him here.
Yes,
I do have
amen,
questions.
sister. Go ahead.
So as an agency recruiter, you're working for companies, you have to put out external jobs, even though they have an internal person. They have an internal person that they already know that they want to hire.
Right.
You working for an agency, do you run into that, or is it just companies that have their internal recruiters? So as a job seeker, if they see something from you, knowing that that job actually is open, over if they see a job from the company, a large name company, and it's going to be an internal recruiter, they have to go through the website and stuff like that. Is my question even making sense?
Sure. No, I think I get it. Yeah, I have not had every job I've worked. So it's you qualify the rec. That's a rec qual is essentially what most recruiters would call it. So you qualify the rec with a hiring manager. Most of the time you're able to ask questions, and 100% of the time it's, why is this position open? And I don't think they would ever say, oh, well, we're just sending this to y'all because legally we have to. So I've never had a job where like they just told me like I'm wasting my time. We wouldn't work it. I think, I don't have like any strong opinions, I guess, on that. I do think like, if a recruiter is sending you a job, you should just treat it as if it's probably like a good lead, whether it's from an internal recruiter at a huge corporation or whether it's from an agency recruiter. I would say if they're paying an agency, like if they have the agency working it, it's probably real. I don't know why they would, but they wouldn't tell us if it wasn't. So.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple other comments here, and to go back what we were just saying about what is too qualified. Kofi asked that. And I think, Kofi, just to give you an example, I've been a CMO. So if I apply for, say, a communications director or a director position, I'm overqualified in the sense of I've had my most recent experience has been a couple prongs up from that. So they'll be like, you're overqualified for this position. We think you'll be bored because you bypassed that at one time or another, which quite honestly, it's just an excuse, in my opinion. And another LinkedIn user made a comment, and I do have a great example of this. When you are changing industries, and I had this experience myself, I was in the insurance adjusting industry for a long time and was a national manager. I went back to school, got my degree, and changed industries and went into financial services. Well, I knew I couldn't go into financial services from insurance adjusting and be like, I expect to be a national executive because I've already been that. Because I didn't have that level in that business. And so they were very happy to hire me in as a lower position. But I'm also one that has the belief as a manager, you can't manage what you don't know. And I truly didn't have it, but this has been a while ago. So this is not in today's market. Getting a job in a new industry with my previous experience in management, they were like excited for it because it was like, oh, great, we've got someone who's new to the industry, but has proven that they work hard and move up the ladder. So I think doing, a transition to a new industry, it's not uncommon to have a lower level position coming into a new industry. But I don't know how that really sits today. I just know how that was, a while back. What are your thoughts on that, Graham?
Yeah. I think that's a really good description of what, I would say overqualified or being too qualified is your example. I don't think it's true. Like, I don't think it's true. I will happily, I submit you no matter how much experience you have, if you can do the job. That's,
right.
The company needs the work done. That's what matters. But yeah,
what are you hearing from people? Granted, I know you're at an agency, but what are you hearing that people are having the most difficult time with?
Ghosting, I think, there's, like we already talked about the ATS, there's a lot of, they're spending so much time like perfecting the resume when like it probably isn't. It's important to have a good resume, but
right.
you don't need to spend hours and hours on your resume every week.
And doing multiple versions. I hear so many people say like, oh my gosh, I've got 10 versions of my resume. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, that would drive me nuts. Which one do I send to which job position? And one of the other things that I see that's happening, because so many people are using LinkedIn much differently today than they were even 4 years ago, is so many people are claiming to be, I'm a LinkedIn, guru, and let me redo your profile because I know how to do it. And then you go to their profiles and it's like, dude, you're not even optimized. Why would I trust you to do? And people are having such difficulty knowing who and what do I really need to do? Do I need to have an optimized?
Was that me?
Picture?
Did she?
Yeah, she's kind of.
Is that her? That's her. So Leslie makes this, and this is something. No, 1 page resume for each position. I don't think so. If I've got 20 years of experience and I've overseen global and stuff like that, 1 page isn't going to happen. Am I correct on that?
I'm getting Kelly and I'm getting Christy at the same time.
Oh, shit. Okay, hold on. Sorry. I'm going to pop out. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so Leslie Flowers says 1 page resume for each position. I say no.
No,
absolutely
I don't.
No.
I know I've submitted people and they've gotten the job. It's like a 4 page.
Can you hear me?
Or 3 page.
Yes. Sort of. You're still pop off and pop back on. The 1 pager, there's no way you can do a 1 pager. Now, my other question is, you mentioned personality traits, soft skills. And obviously people know that I do what I do. I help job seekers on different levels of the confidence coaching, interviewing, sending them jobs and helping them with their interviews as well as their LinkedIn and resumes. But my whole thing is sorry, Leslie. She was asking if it was a question. I thought it was your statement. So the answer is no. No on the 1 pager. Am I
no
correct, Mr.
no on the one.
Empathetic Recruiter? No.
I mean, there are certainly some jobs where I can get away with a one-page resume, based on how it's formatted. If it's 2 years of experience, I can format it in a way to make it one page. But if you've got 5+ years of experience or anything like, it's going to be a page and a half, 2 pages, 3 pages.
So my other question is, and I know this has happened to me in the past, and again, job searching is completely different even since COVID.
Amen.
When you get a resume, do you want it in PDF or Word? And when you receive it, do you tweak it to make it look better? So after they've gotten their beautiful resume all formatted and everything, do you change it?
So I will send a message, I'll do my sourcing. Once they say they're interested, they will send me their updated resume. Then we will have a screen from there, normally the same day or, 5 minutes, pretty much immediately once I get the resume. If it's during the business hours, I will call. And then from there, we go through the resume, and I normally make edits or tailor it. I think one of the bigger things I see with resumes is that people just say what they did instead of like what they achieved.
There's no meat.
So pretty much everything that I'm trying to do is just, I'm trying to quantify everything that they've done. So, they can see numbers and achievements versus, necessarily what they did. And in terms of that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Leslie, to finish her other question, she wants to know, she came in late, that do people really read 4 pages resumes? It also depends on the recruiter and how they work.
Yeah. It definitely depends for sure. It's similar. Yeah. I mean, you have to hook me, like the summary, and like if the summary and the edge or, the top first page of the resume is totally off, then I'm probably not going to page 2. But if page 1 is good, then
So with the soft skills, and people are like, I don't want to hear multitasking type of words. However, when you have a job description, those are the words that they're looking for, because a lot of times, from what I've been told by other recruiters, when these recruiters don't really know about the job, they're looking for those words that will go for that job.
Sure.
So to show those core competencies, active listener, emotional intelligence, global traveling, I'm using as an EA type of thing, SAS, SAP. You need to show that, even though your bullet points aren't really showing those kind of traits. Don't you need to show that on the resumes to grab you or to hook you?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, the resume needs to communicate everything that I'm looking for.
Okay.
But I don't need, like, in the skills section, I don't need to see like team player or active listening or like that's where I read through your resume, or for multitasking. If I see something where you managed 3 projects at a time and communicated with 10 other coworkers, throughout the day, then I know that you can multitask. You don't,
But you're a good recruiter. What about those recruiters that just have that job description, that just have those words that they're looking for because they don't know what the job is?
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, I don't know.
I told you, I'm hardcore when it comes to,
Yeah, and I think the other thing that with all of this, and even going back to Leslie's question about the 4-page resume, is there's definitely an issue with folks that have more years of experience than others, that to avoid ageism, if you will, there's always, and I shouldn't say always, I have heard advice be that, hey, if you can clump some of your older job positions that won't really show years, other positions previously had, and just list and not necessarily list out the years. if those aren't your most recent, to help avoid ageism. Because sometimes people, it's 100%. It's like, well, you can obviously tell that this applicant is pushing 60. And a lot of people are going to be going, nope, we want someone else, because we don't want someone either with that much experience or that expected of high pay level, what have you. So, I mean, I think we get into so many different layers when we start talking about the length of resumes, but I definitely, the one page for every position, I would never read that. I would be like, this person is out because they use too much content just for the sake of using content. Like, I feel like you should go be an attorney because you're getting paid per word. That just seems very excessive to me.
Well, and it goes back to the expectations. There's biases.
Yeah.
They're reading this, they're going to see it, and they're going to already make their decision. They're already going to make their decision. So Patricia asks, how do you actually get a conversation with a recruiter? So when somebody sees that a job post is on LinkedIn, because I'm LinkedIn or Indeed, I'm more LinkedIn. When you see that person who's post the job, should they connect with them, send them a quick message saying, hey, I applied for this job. These are 1, 2, 3 reasons. Love to have a conversation. Just show that they are interested, to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think 100%. Every time you apply to the job, if you can find the recruiter, follow up with the recruiter. Now, like what you said, the formatting of the message is almost just as important as the resume, because I could probably get hundreds of messages that are just like hey, this is whomever, and they don't really tell me anything. They just said that they applied. But
Right.
like unfortunately, you should
Like
be making you should be making my job easier. So like,
right.
Especially the recruiters who don't know what they're looking for. So just pull up the job description and be like, 1, 2, 3. I have X amount of experience in this. I have such and such experience with X and Y skills, and boom. Like, just make it really easy for them to want to respond.
Okay, that leads me to ask a question about cover letters, because I've always been told different formatting on different cover letters, because some do say a cover letter is required, and that is about you following instruction, whether or not you do it. But I've also been told multiple things about how to structure a cover letter, that you should take as an example the tasks that the job requirements are, and that you should, create a table, if you will, however you want to put it on there, but show that you actually have that experience and what job you had it in on the cover letter, so it's actually in their face. Hey, I'm applying to this. Here's how I match to what you're asking for. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know cover letters end up being a whole different conversation too.
Yeah, I mean, normally a cover letter would be during the application process, so whatever you're on the job board. So definitely, I mean, you want to tailor the cover letter to the job as well, and make it look like I'm exactly what you're looking for based on the job description. I'm probably not the greatest person to ask, because as an agency recruiter, we pretty much submit resumes with 5, like a paragraph of a summary up top, and that's the cover letter. We don't send cover letters over. But I mean, I do get them from candidates, but that's not really something I guess would say that I'm an expert in how to, format a cover letter.
Right. And I think,
And don't forget the thank you letter.
Yeah.
Thank you notes. A quick thank you. That's old school.
Yeah.
Showing my age.
School.
And it's just a brief, and even if you don't hear from the recruiter again,
Yes.
just say thank you.
Yes.
Rise above it. Just say thank you. Because something down the line, they just might remember you going, something, how I treated him wasn't so good, but hey, they said thank you. Let me go back and try to make amends, because I have a job that could be perfect for him. It brings up again, and I think we mentioned this. You send all 4 pages to the potential employer. As you mentioned, it really depends on the recruiter. Sometimes you just do a paragraph saying, here's this information. And sometimes the hiring manager does get all four, don't they? I mean, I know that when I've applied for jobs, they've gotten my 3 pages.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going through me, like, I can only speak for myself. I spend a lot of time on the resume, probably too much time, to be honest. Just because, like you said, I get paid by people getting jobs, so I want to help them with the best resume as possible. So if the best resume is 4 pages and everything on there is like related to the job, then yeah, I'm sending 4 pages. But if I can cut it down to 3 pages, I'll cut it down to 3 pages by getting rid of fluff and stuff that isn't really related to the job. Yeah.
I just wanted to on the thank you note thing. Christy is 100% right as far as I've had people that sent me thank you letters but didn't get the position that they had applied for because there was maybe a better fit in another candidate. But later when a position came up or something came, I'm like, I've got this great candidate that was so great during the interview process that now we need to consider perhaps for this position. And they ended up getting hired maybe in a different department. I think those small things, or they seem so small, they make a big impact because it just shows about who you are as a person. And that's what you're trying to get the people to remember is who you are, not just what your skill set is. So that's just my thoughts on the thank you notes. I say send them.
Send them every time.
Patricia, tell me what you think about this. She wishes that she could let us provide a cover letter, especially applying for a job that's different from what they did before, or is in a lower page, transitioning from a different industry. What do you think about having the cover letter connected to the resume and putting that through, even though they're not asking for it? So when you pull it up, just instead of just having the resume, you've got let's say 3 pages. It's a 2-page resume, but they have the cover letter on top. What are your feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would still read the resume and I would read the cover letter. I mean, that's not a bad idea for sure.
Sometimes I pull them out.
I mean, I think especially in this situation, for sure, if you're addressing maybe some of those red flags, like, I'm transitioning into a new industry, or I'm, basically saying like, I'm okay with taking an individual contributor job after being in management for so long, or whatever. I think certainly having a cover letter as part of the resume when you apply would be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great idea too, because I will say for me, of when I was doing any hiring, cover letters that people use their personality and not just a template, they always stood out. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt and it doesn't make people go, oh, I didn't ask for a cover letter. You're out of the running.
Well, you might have a few of those.
Right.
You might.
Like, let's call that what it is.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to be that, but generally speaking, it's not something that's going to be like, oh, they took time to do something personal. How dare they?
So when you're dealing with searching on LinkedIn, can you explain how you look on somebody's LinkedIn profile?
Yeah.
Do you look at their about of wanting to see their professional statement, all business, third person, or do you want to have them show their personality? Because I'm all about having that as your business, your brand. So I'm curious how you look, or if you even look at the about, you're just looking for the skills and where they've worked.
Yeah. So LinkedIn has LinkedIn Recruiter for recruiters. It's basically what most pretty much everybody pays for as a recruiter to work. So that interface, like that website, looks much different than the normal LinkedIn page. So when I'm searching, it'll be, like a Boolean, or, I just skills or whatever. So once that pulls up a pool of candidates, from there, I go from the experience. There would be times, or there are several times, where I open up the personal profile of the person and then go to LinkedIn and look at their about. But that's certainly not the first thing I'm looking at. I'm looking at the.
And do you lean more to the people that have the green banner?
Yeah.
So the green banner is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think making sure, if you're open to, I mean, you get burned, which it's fine. But there's plenty of people who are using the banner and then who email me back and say that they're actually not looking, or vice versa. They think they shouldn't look at or use it. So, I can't reach out to them. But that's the first filter I use. If I need to narrow it down, I narrow it down using the open to work, the frame.
And as much as we're trashing the recruiters, and again, there's some great recruiters out there, but unfortunately there's some hard. But the job seekers aren't always the best either.
Oh no.
I mean, they beat you guys up like we just did, but we're doing it empathetically.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting is hard. I'll say, like, one of the things that is really, really hard for me is, I'll talk to 100 people a month at least. And a really, really good month will 2 of those people get a job, maybe 3. So I'm giving 97 people. I mean, I try and give them a little bit of good news, or point them in the right direction, but ultimately I'm giving them bad news. So that's hard. But I think the sending thank you notes and just being, trying not to burn the bridge, not treating us as, at the end of the day, we're the messenger most of the time. We're not the decision maker. Mm-hmm. So don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. But you know what, to your defense, and to say, that there are good recruiters out there, the fact that you actually just said, I do deliver maybe bad news, but you're delivering news, which is more than a lot of recruiters do, because it is the hearing nothing. And we've already killed that rabbit on this conversation about ghosting. So it at least feels good to know, okay, they've got another candidate, I can move on. What about, and because I've been a big proponent of this also, when you do get a response that hey, the position has been filled, or I regret to inform you, however it's crafted, if I were to reach back out to you, because I've always encouraged this, and I do it when I do get a note, can I ask, what was it during the process that you could point out to me, maybe that I could have done better or differently? Because I think that's a lot of things that people miss out on, is getting feedback on, what is it? So maybe it is your resume. Maybe it is the way that you interviewed. But you don't know unless you ask most of the time.
Asking for feedback after a rejection is one of the most important things you can do. And I couple that, I think I made a post about this a while ago, but you should be sending a thank you note after every interview. And then you should be sending a thank you note every time you got rejected. Because it's different. It sets you apart. No one's like, why are you thanking me for giving you these bad news? But if you do that, and then in that thank you note, you are also asking for feedback, I mean, you're going to set yourself apart, and 90% of recruiters, I would think, would respond and give you some feedback.
Well, and also understand you are a business. A business is looking for somebody that will fit with their business plan.
Right.
And sometimes it just doesn't, but another business will. But so as a business, you always want to rise above, show your character, and show that you've got class. I mean, that's the only word that comes up, but just, hey, I got rejected, but hey, thank you. Can you share, what could I have done differently?
Yes.
Because a lot of times these jobs aren't exactly what you wanted.
Right.
So that goes into our faith, knowing that the door was closed because it wasn't supposed to be.
Mhm.
And I know how difficult it is to have to get a job.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been there. Kelle and I have been there way too many times in our life, and we're not young. I mean, I'm old, but it just, to understand that, something, this just wasn't going to be a fit for me, and not to just look at, for what I've seen on certain people I've talked to. First of all, stop spraying and praying. Just
Right.
stop spraying and praying. You're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
You're just look at that job and say, yeah, this is something I'd like to do. Yes, I know I have this experience and I can do this. And this is a company, from what I've researched the company, I could do it. But don't go applying for jobs where it's just sort of like, yeah, I could do this. I haven't had that much experience. But I'm sorry, there's going to be somebody that has more experience than you. So now you're going to get disappointed, and you're just praying and spraying. And the mental health right now is so important. It's devastating. And we always go back. It's harder on men. Yes, females, especially single females, it's, with mortgages and everything, it's tough. But when a man, he's supposed to be taking care of the family. He's supposed to be the breadwinner. I mean, that's, old school, I suppose.
Often.
Yeah. I mean, my heart breaks for everybody.
Amen.
So with that, we're at 2:11.
Yeah.
We're 11:11. We're 11:11. So if anybody knows anything, that's called Hebrews 11:11. It's all about faith.
And make a wish. So Graham, I know you need to get back to packing because you're moving. So we do thank you again for taking the time to take a break from your move. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Well, don't spray and pray. Try and create some sort of, get some clarity on what you want. LinkedIn is really helpful. I would connect with people who do stuff that you would want to do. People who hire the people to do that stuff, and then people who have maybe done it before, but no longer do it. So I really think getting on LinkedIn and engaging with people, that would be a huge thing. That would help a lot of people's job search.
And I suggest to connect with Graham or follow him, ring his bell, because his content, it's very uplifting and very authentic.
Yes.
And it goes back to, that's why the three of us do what we do on different levels, but we're all about trying to help other people out. We're just be your cheerleader.
Amen. Yes. So everyone, thank you for being here today. And again, just a reminder to connect with all of us and ring our bells. And if you have any additional questions, please do feel free to put them in the comments or DM us directly. And we look forward to seeing you next week at 1:11 p.m. Eastern time. And I may be in a different location next week. And
oh, you will. Kelly's coming to Florida.
Well, there's the surprise. So
there's the surprise.
Yes, we will be together next Tuesday, which will definitely be some fun. And we will have the Here Brotherhood on, which is another incredible organization supporting men's mental health.
No. We got Jay Dobbins on next week.
Oh, badass. They're the week after. My bad. See, look, now you know of two upcoming ones that are amazing. Jay Dobbins, y'all do not want to miss that one at all. Or the Here Brotherhood, because they're incredible. So that all being said, ding, 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 it's time to go. We're all on this journey together, and together we do make it awesome. Have a great day, everyone.